Believe. In case some people can't make it today, I've got a little camera on a stick so I can record this and I'll stick it up on YouTube or somewhere later for people who can't get in, okay? My name's Phil Wayne. I'm the module leader for the module called the Internet, Computers and Society, which is one of your third-year optional modules. And all I'm going to do today is tell you a few things about it, not loads and loads, because I'll send you some additional details out in due course. And you're probably sick of very kind of detailed pictures, okay? So if you think it sounds quite interesting, you can ask me questions later, and I'll email you all, and you can sort of send me emails with questions and queries, and I'll send you more information and stuff. So to stop me kind of ambling off all over the place, I've got a little crib sheet, so I need to look at my little crib sheet to remind me the kind of things that I was going to tell you, okay? So, oh yeah, I'll tell you some of the practical sort of things about it first. People always like to know that. So there's a mixture of kind of coursework and essays. I'm a bit croaky today, so you'll have to excuse me. So currently there's a mixture of coursework, there's an essay that you have to do, and then there's a kind of 2-hour exam in the summer, okay? So we're kind of looking at kind of quality rather than a huge quantity of assessment. Based on feedback up to date, what kind of things do people think about the module? The feedback's generally been very, very good, very, very positive. People like the way that we try and run the module, what we do. And the last cohort we had through, kind of 95% of the students on it said they'd recommend the module to other people. So I think that's pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. In terms of, well, what kind of things do we cover on the module, for example? Okay. Well, we cover lots of different things. So if I look at my little sheet to remind me of the kind of things we look at, it's kind of, well, really kind of things around your everyday life, really. Okay. The exact topics will vary slightly from year to year, depending on kind of what's coming along. Partly because a module about technology and society, things keep moving along very rapidly, okay? So a few years ago, for example, we didn't really do much about social networks, but increasingly we do. I should say, just to clarify this, that you don't need much technical skills. This isn't a kind of technical computing module. This is a module about how does the prevalence of technology all over the place, how does the fact that I can have a little camera on a stick, for example, how does the fact you're all carrying mobile phones and other types of computers, how does the fact that you're all using sort of internet-based services, how does this change your kind of educational lives, your working lives, and your private lives? Okay? And when we can look at some of these things, we can ask ourselves, well, what would I, as an undergraduate student, what would I find interesting about it? And specifically, might I bring something from the discipline of economics, because you're economists after all, might I bring something to bear? Might I be able to bring some kind of analysis to bear on it, okay? So I'm not an economist myself, but I'm a general social scientist. But what I'm good at doing is encouraging you to draw out your special skills as an economist. And so you can look at companies like Google, and you can look at things like MySpace and stuff, and say, well, what would an economist have to say about eBay, or Google, or MySpace? And things like, well, all this online shopping that we're doing with Amazon and Tesco, well, why has it been so successful, okay? And again, there are lots of things in your discipline area, there are lots of theories, lots of concepts that you can bring to bear that help to explain a lot of the things that are going on around us. So a lot of the things that you're doing now, you can bring things to bear that help you to understand things better, okay? And help me to understand some of it as well. Because there are some areas where, especially because of your age cohort, your demographic, you'll be much more expert in certain things like mobile phones and stuff, for example, than I am. But then there'll be things that, certainly up to now every year, I've been able to sort of bring new things in, throw new light in, so that we've got regular users of things like social networking sites, regular users of services like Google. But people at the end of the module have said, do you know what, I've seen it in a different way now, or I've learnt lots of new practical things, lots of different things that I can do with it, okay? So people tend to find it hopefully a useful and engaging module. If you're sort of thinking, oh, well, what about employability and stuff, okay? Well, I think any kind of module that makes you very aware of technology, and especially its consequences in the workplace and things like that, is a good module to possibly think about and be engaged with, okay? Many of you will be on social networking sites. Many of you will be thinking in the not too distant future about going out into the workplace. And increasingly we know that, for example, employers are Googling you. We know that employers will use agencies who will hunt you down on Facebook and Bebo or your preferred sites. They want to know what you're like after a few drinks inside you, okay? As well as that nice, smart young man or woman who presents themselves at the interview. They may want to know that you've done lots of genuine charity work and things and you've not just made it up on your CV. You are living in interesting times, okay? You have very transient, very exposed lives in some ways. So the module kind of looks at all of this kind of thing. So everything from kind of e-commerce to e-learning to social networks. And what I'll do is I'll send out a kind of more detailed descriptor that tells you some of this stuff about it. One of the things I thought I'd do is just briefly as well, because I've only got a few minutes, is to just kind of highlight some of the things that we're doing on this year's module as an example of that kind of thing. So here you can see our kind of glorious general now. And if I call up the contents, we can see the kind of things we get. One of the things that we have is, currently with Timetable, we have a class every week for 2 hours where we meet up. And it's not really a lecture, it's not really a seminar. Over the 2-hour period, we'll do a whole mixture of things. So there's bits where I maybe stood like I am now and I'm talking to everyone for a bit. There'll be bits where people are working in little groups, trying to solve problems or come up with all kinds of things. There'll be other bits where I'm showing videos and we've got worksheets. And we're kind of doing things that work best when we're there as a group of people, okay? But then to supplement that, okay, we've got a lot of additional material. So, as is pretty standard, all the materials that I supply you with in terms of PowerPoints and handouts, you can get all these on there now as electronic versions. And here we've got all our sort of sessions for this year. But what we also do on this module is we sort of do a few additional things which people have found quite useful. So, for example, we've got things like things like a blog and stuff set up for the module, where I can post lots of additional materials and stuff, things that I can post nice and quickly and easily that I can't do in now. So all kinds of videos and stuff. So let's see if this will let us call it up and have a look at it. So here, so there's me, look, up on the telly on the big screen there, and you'll see that basically I kind of post lots of different things, and sometimes I'm posting things that are video clips that I've made, sometimes it's video clips that I found on news programs and stuff, and they all tie directly into the different topic areas that we're looking at. And what would be nice next year possibly as well, if we would get you lot making some of these kind of video clips and things as well, getting you to sort of contribute something back to people. But we'll think about that, because many of you will find it frightening. Whilst you post things up all the time on your networking sites, if I wave a camera at you, many of you look terrified. But we can think about these kind of things. But you can go through and you can see that there's lots of sort of materials and stuff posted up here that helps supplement what's going on with the main materials on now. Okay? And then other things that we've tried to do to make it more useful for people, and little things that are a little bit different, I don't know if the audio's set up on here, are things like, for example, when I gave all the essays back recently, there's a bit of a delay, you know, we mark the essays, they go back into the school office. And so to speed things up in terms of getting feedback, I sort of did a little essay summary for everybody.
Okay, I'm going to give you some feedback on
that's
your...
doing exactly that kind of thing. Wow. Lucky Adam Smith got a good mark. And of course what I wanted to do to protect the anonymity of the current cohort students was I gave everybody the name of a famous economist. And so when they emailed me, I kind of emailed back and said, this is who you are, and this is your mark, and now go and look at your video and you can get your feedback. And in a few days, go get your work back from the kind of the school office and stuff. So we try, and it's been a module that recognises that technology is important and the things that we're doing, make some use of it. Hopefully not to the point where it's just completely gimmicky. We always try and do it so that it's doing something useful, something helpful, okay? And really, looking at the time on the little thing there, I've kind of got to the end of my sort of 10-minute pitch, and I'll stop there and answer any questions to see if your hand's going up. Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do, as I said, I'll send out details as an email link to all of you, and I'll send out links to the blog, and I'll send a link through to the Now stuff. I don't know if you can access it on that. I'll check on that for you. And then if you've got any questions, get in touch, ask me the questions you've got, and we'll sort them out, and I'll play it back from there. Thank you very much for your time. I will see some of you next year. Bye for now. Okay. Cheers.